Ellan, thank you for coming to Yorkshire Business Focus. It's lovely to see you.
Hi Ian, nice to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Not at all, not at all. Come on, Ellan, let's launch straight in there. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Ellan Campbell Swann and I run Revamp Marketing.
What's your definition of resilience?
Yeah, bloody mindedness.
Oh, how does that show up? What does that look like for a business owner?
It looks like a refusal to give in,
Okay.
to be creative and think outside the box, I think.
So they're probably different, right? Refusal to give in and being creative. They're kind of like opposites, aren't
they? Yeah. Does that make me an enigma?
It may do. It may make you very versatile or very selective of what skill sets you use and pull on at any moment in time. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's creativity, really, isn't it? It's thinking outside the box. But I think it is a refusal to give in as well. You've got to be committed.
And so tell me, what's your definition of leadership? If resilience is bloody mindedness and a glass of gin, so what does leadership look like? How does that is that part of the creativity, or is that what's that look like?
I think leadership is the creativity, I think, but you need that resilience as well. You need that resilience. It's a bit, yeah, it's looking at the kind of, I suppose, where do I want to be and why? Always ask why, because if you ask why often enough, sometimes you'll find that isn't where you want to be at all. So it's identifying where you want to be, and I suppose then going down to finding out how you can do it, finding a way. Maybe that's where the creativity comes in as well. It's spotting opportunities. It's not just spotting. I mean, some people miss opportunities all the time. Some are good at spotting them, but you might be good at spotting them, and you've got to have the balls, if you like, to go ahead and seize them. So I think that's quite got a lot to do with it.
So we've got the creativity, resilience, and then we've got spotting opportunities and then seizing those opportunities.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of then comes back to being able to recognize an opportunity when it arises.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not that obvious. It's thinking outside the box, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where the gin definitely helps.
Aside from the gin, it's getting very gin themed, is this? Perhaps we should get a sponsor. Aside from that, so what is it that inspires that to have to spot those opportunities, that creativity?
That probably comes back to determination, I guess. That going back to not wanting to give in. Just there must be a way. If you really want something, there must be a way to get it. And yeah, we all make mistakes sometimes, but I think you've got to have the courage. I think that comes into the leadership as well. You've got to take risks, calculated risks.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So leadership is creative and courageous.
Yeah.
I like that. I do like it. So if leadership is being courageous and creative, so what is management?
That's where the self-discipline and motivation comes in. That's the doing. I think where I said before that leadership is like, where do we want to be and why? And management is, how are we going to do it? How are we going to get there? This is what we're going to be making the plans and being a bit more, what's the word? A bit more organized, I suppose. Working out how to do it and then making it happen.
Being organised, huh? That's an interesting one. So on the one hand, we're being courageous and creative at one end of the scale, and at the other end of the scale, now we're being organised.
Yeah. Communication, definitely. That's a big player. Two-way as well, listening as well as talking.
So tell me more about communication. What's the key standouts for you
there? Well, talking, probably. Keep talking. It's just keep talking and keep that dialogue going, and empowerment as well. Trust. A lot of it's trust as well, particularly because I work with a team that isn't sat in the same room as me. It's trust and empowerment, and
So
communication.
what's the elements that have to go in place then in order for you to trust a team? Because, you know, as we were speaking before we came on air, we were talking about the art of delegation. That there's trust sits in the art of delegation, isn't there? So what's the stages towards being able to make that delegation?
I think with my business model, my outsourced associates, people who I work with, the teams I build for clients, I know them. I know that they're handpicked, and I've known them and I've worked with them before. And I wouldn't just have anyone on board that I didn't know. And then again, that's the communication as well. You've got to get to know them. And it's really important.
Got to get to know them, or got to get to know their competencies and their skill sets.
Everything, but you've got to let them know about you. They've got to understand me and how I work and my clients. So again, it's all down to communication. It's a constant dialogue. And it's a two-way thing. And I think a lot of it as well, when you say, how do you trust someone? I think a lot of it, well, certainly for me, I put it down to gut instinct. You know, you just, when you know.
Does that work 100% of the time for you?
No, I've made mistakes, but that's a risk. That's life.
Yeah.
The learning curve.
Okay. Brilliant. All righty. Cool. So leadership is creativity and courage. Management is about the system and about communication.
Yeah, and the planning and putting the processes in place, which I tend to like to leave to other. What I really want to do is to be able to educate, I suppose, a client on marketing, the way that it can help them when it's done properly, how all the different bits it's like a jigsaw. And if they're all done properly and they're working together cohesively, it can be beautiful. It can work really well.
Like a symphony, yeah.
Yeah, and I want them to understand that it's not a dark art. There are reasons why we do things, and it's all about consistency and cohesiveness. And then I'd love then for them to be able to embrace that and, you know, understand and take that forward.
It almost sounds like a leadership piece in itself.
It is. The strategy is that was all to do with leadership. And then the management side of that is then they can either go off and they can ignore me and do nothing, or they could do something different. But I like to think that they'll listen to what I've suggested and they can go and do it themselves, or they can get someone else to do it, or hopefully they can come back and say, yeah, Ellen, can you help with this? And I can put a team together to help them with that. And like I said, it could be a project or it could be an ongoing, thing. And that's the management of it.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So before we finish off, give us a good customer story. What's your favourite customer story? Where's your favourite success been in the last few years?
Oh my gosh, there's a question. God, you're going to have to edit this massive pause out.
Oh, too right. Yeah, I can do that.
God, I don't know, Ian.
When have you really enjoyed what they've come up with?
I think one of the biggest successes, which is actually I've been a victim of my own success really, is a manufacturing company, similar to what I've described, actually, that kind of scenario. And we've helped them with their marketing. We've also then helped them to get some grant funding in to help them to buy some equipment. They wanted some new machinery, and we've helped them to do that because then it releases the budget that they've had for that to spend on their marketing, because they were at a position where they either bought the new equipment or they spent it on marketing, and it was a bit of a which one do we do? So we managed to work it around, so it was a win-win for both. And we were so good at getting their grant funding and spotting places or spotting ways for them to drive that business forward using this new machinery as well and really grow, that they've grown really quite big, and they've got them onto the Innovate UK Edge programme.
Nice.
And as part of that, I mean, there's loads of kudos that goes with that. So it's brilliant news for them, and they're taking off now, unbelievably. But as part of that, they get all that kind of marketing stuff done as part of that plan. So I've done myself
Yeah.
out of the role really, but it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good to see. It's so good to see them do it, you know, taking off like that. It's just amazing.
I love it. What a great story. That's brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, another great leadership piece heading into management, but as with all good project managers,
Yeah.
it leaves us. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you for sharing. It's a great story to finish off with. And thank you for being on Yorkshire Business Focus this week. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.